Right. So, as part of our guide where technical learning is concerned, either we may be a developer role or it can be an architect roles. Understanding over the guide where renewal APIs and data migration strategies are important uh, because this is an understanding of both technical and as well as functional overview, which majorly prepare for any teams like implementing and as well as integration. Uh, Understanding over the functional side of it is important. At the same time, even technical learning even equally important because renewal APIs or data migration strategies. How are we migrating data from old legacy systems to the new guideware, all that stuff. So this is an example that I'm taking renewal in policy center because as in when we know policy center is something that we use to create any new submissions, cancellations, reinstatements, all that. In that regard, so understanding over the renewals in policy center, wherein renewals can happen for existing policies for any kind of new term for the next 1 year or 2 years or so. So this generally triggered before the policy is going to be expired because as in when we are creating batch processings, when there is any renewal date is coming up, system automatically will identify and will notify this to the team so that we are triggering this before policy expirations. At the same time, it also supports uh, auto renewals. It also supports the manual and as well as conditional renewals also because there are clauses where for conditional renewals will also be there. But major goal under this is to retain the existing customers. At the same time, if there is any changes in the policy in between, recalculation of the premiums will be taken further. So these are the major reasons as well as the business goal behind renewal for any policy center. Because as an example of policy center, I'm referring here. Now, when there is any renewal life cycle flow, this is how it was. You know that, right? So when there is any policy is created, when there is a renewal date is coming up, underwriting review based on the changes that are happened. So underwriter has to review that. Again, he has to re-rate the policy, re-rate, okay, not rewrite, re-rate the policy so that new quotation will be generated. So that we have to rate and premium calculations will be done. So followed by this, we can give the code bind issues, right? So this is a continuous process for the renewal. If there is any change happens in between, for example, a person has taken a commercial auto. He has one vehicle earlier. Now he has added one more vehicle next year. Okay, by next year he wants to add one more vehicle. Or earlier he has one driver. Now the driver has changed, or one more driver has added for the next renewal. So these are the examples behind. Okay, so renewal life cycle flow. These are the renewals behind where we require underwriting review, we require rating and premium calculation again due to this reason, or else person has already had the policy where he has applied for the claim submission completed, claim payment was made, right? So based on that, again rewriting of because based on the claim that he has submitted and completed successfully at the time of renewal, is there any kind of impact in terms of the rate calculations that we do, everything that we do it. So this is all generally a flow life cycle of renewal one should be knowing. And these were the general APIs we have, renewal APIs and all. So I'm not explaining all these in detail. I'm giving in a high level understanding. Okay, the detailed explanation will be when the detailed coaching will be done. Then there it will be right. So it's an overview I'm giving. It's sufficient for initially to start with renewal OPA overview. So because there are different methods like post method for policies, renewal at the same time get method for any kind of jobs that we are holding on, right? So if you want to code, we can post. Even for bind and issue also, we use the post method also. Right? Renewal overview APIs where this post method and get method is being used. Now, when we want to create a renew API and all, this is how generally we create. So request for renewal effective date, so and so date we have taken, I've taken. and response against to that, whatever the response in context to the job ID number. Make sure job ID number is a response where it will be initially to start with the draft. Okay, after that it will be proceed further. Initially submission will be in the draft state only. You know that already. Next, batch renewal processing. In the introduction I told you, because whenever renewal, the batch processing where pre-renewal direction batches or any kind of automated underwriting batches, or it also supports mass renewals whenever we wants to perform. Everything will be part of batch renewal processing, etc. Technical architecture part, policy center, technical architecture understanding is required because want to be into the technical side of it, development side, or be majorly into the architect role. I'm referring this point. So understanding over the technical architecture, how it behaves and how it functions is important. Okay, so how rating engine functioning by confining with by integrating with billing center, right? So at the same time, any document generations based on the payment was made, followed by REST and message integration. So everything will be part of technical architecture. Technical architecture is important. Next, why data migration? So why, for what purpose data migration is being used? Data migration is something which is being used when we want to migrate the data from one system to another system. Because if you want to replace your legacy system, right? So if you want to replace any kind of legacy system we have, okay, so right, so if you want to have any legacy system and all, legacy system replacement, right? So when you're going for any cloud migrations, or if you are upgrading any kind of versions or any mergers and acquisitions, everything will be part of data migration only. When it comes to the migration approaches, one of the popular migration approach we called Big Bang migration approach, where is phase wise migration. Because let's say when normally migrations we do every one at a time. Okay, when there is any new batch processes files we have identified for renewal, at the time of renewal only migration will be taken. Okay, because we don't do the total data to be migrated. So phase wise migration we do. At the same time, renewal based migration, as I told you, which is more recommended, I told you, rather than phase wise renewal based migration. Because when there is any renewal comes, let's say 10,000 policies or 5,000 policies are in the state of renewal now. So we do migration only that, right? Remaining not. That's how generally these migration approaches are being used here. Next, renewal based migration strategy, right? So because normally ETL process we are using different ETL developers will be there, where they have to perform the migration by extracting the data, transforming the data, loading the data, so that they can reduce the risk and as well as at the same time cleaning the cutover time, all that. Next, when focusing on ETL migration flow from legacy systems point of view, wherein we are moving on to the staging database. We create the staging database where we have to create a transformation layer for that. Next, we need to make sure that Guidewire REST API has been connected to the policy center. So where from the legacy application to the new Guidewire policy center, where this migration can be taken place. This is how generally the ETL migration workflow is. When we are focusing on the data mapping strategies is important, right? So whatever the coverage mappings that we do, because type key mapping, because we have entities, we have type keys and all, as far as data models are concerned, right? So type key mapping must be. At the same time, product model alignment must be, because whatever the product model existing, it is there in the legacy system. The same product model should be there in the to be system, means the migration where we are migrating. The product model alignment, it rightly aligned, because the policy types, policy coverages, everything must be the same, similar. So there must be a proper alignment for that. So product model alignment is needed. At the same time, what are the rating parameters that we are initiating? Rating parameters mapping is also important, because if you have identified some high risk driver or high risk vehicle, right? So rating can be of different. So that's based on the rating parameters mapping, everything that we have to be performed under the data mapping strategy and all. When it comes to the migration validation strategy, there were three major: record count validations like premium reconciliations or any financial validations, parallel run testing. This is all part of migration validation strategies and all that. So these are APIs. These are all APIs for direct DB migrations, like API based and all right. So direct database, which normally don't recommend, we don't do it. But business rules triggered only through API is something that we use. So these are the major ones when we are trying to understand working on renewing the API migration strategies from a technical point of view, being a learner or from the development side, or uh, we are from the architect roles and all. This is important. Majorly for architect kind of roles, these renewal APIs, data migration strategies are required when we want to become a Guidewire architect in Policy Center, as an example I've taken here.